country, the voices of working people are far more important than the voices of those who merely have money.
Okay, so you guys know this is our friendly Democrat Nazi who's running up in Maine. And I just wanted to stop based on that first statement when he says, I believe that our voices are more important than other people's voices, which is fine. It's kind of odd to hear from a politician, especially a politician who's, sort of on the commie side. It's because I thought, the warm era of collectivism, we are all in this together. And I didn't know there was a level of importance. And so when you listen how these people talk, now they're basically looking to insert themselves as being more important, which I found very interesting that you would say those words. We are more important than you. That's scary in of itself.
I believe that we should not be settling for scraps that they throw to us from the table where they are dining with the Epstein class.
It's going to be like this because there's so many things, and these people are all cheering as they're hearing this. One of the reasons why they're cheering, and I look at the crowd, and as you look at this crowd, you can see some of these people might just be zombies. Some of these people may believe in this stuff, but the collective, that you're looking at obviously didn't do well in history. The college kids that you see doing crazy stuff didn't do well in history or just didn't go. They don't understand every single one of the major advocates and proponents of socialism and communism have resulted in people being really, really, really in trouble, if not dead. It can't work. They don't want to hear it, but the only way they can keep doing what they're doing is to keep saying what they're saying like a mantra so that the zombies listen and blame other people for their problems.
I don't think that a CEO should have more power than a union member. I don't think that private equity deserves more time with a United States senator than someone who works 2 jobs for a living.
They hate everything about success, is what he just said. Someone who's in private equity, obviously they're raising money. Somebody who's very successful in business, you have an opportunity because you are employing people. You are doing things to help more people get out of poverty, to better their lives. And they hate that. I would love to meet President Trump, but I know that Jeff Bezos has more to say. Elon Musk has more to say. He's flying rockets all over the world than I would be. Barry, what's your idea to help people who are hungry? Get them more food. Okay, thank you. Get out. Because other than that, I can have the idea, but I can't do anything about the idea. I can't take a cargo ship and do something. But what they're trying to tell people is you don't need big business. You don't need rich people. It's all their fault why you are where you are, which is completely wrong. And I know not a lot, but there are certain people who don't like me talking about this, but I can't. It's how I was brought up. It's inbred in me. When my sister was here, I said, you remember what Daddy did? He came over here from Jamaica. He started a construction company. I am probably one of the few people you can look at and go, I can't tell him otherwise. His father came over here with 2 nickels. His father came over here and he knew how to do some certain things from working in Jamaica, and he got here and he was able to basically parlay that into a big construction company. And so it's very hard for me to go, it doesn't work. It's racism and all the other people. No, it's not true. I am a living embodiment of it. a Jamaican kid, he was young, came here, went to the army, joined the army, jumped out of doggone airplanes, and decided at that point he was, a Republican and he wanted to do business. And just like every other person who wants to do business who doesn't have anything but two nickels, you need an investor. Like, wow, he wants to buy trucks and do all this stuff and tools and open, offices. And how's he going to do it? He doesn't have any money. And he meets a Jewish chicken farmer in Connecticut, and he tells this Jewish chicken farmer his idea, and this Jewish chicken farmer decides to bankroll him. And, for there, the rest is history. A Jewish chicken farmer bankrolled my father. Let that sink in. For all the racists out there, and people say, it's the Jews, you're barking up the wrong thing here, because I've lived it. I watched how my father was able to speak to this guy, and this guy said, here, I want a percentage of your business, and we'll do this, and we're going to build houses, and it just keeps going. And you got these guys saying, oh, no, we can't do that. It's the government.
This great country of ours is moving very rapidly in the direction of oligarchy. The United States of America today.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He just said it's moving very rapidly to an oligarchy type country. He said that in 1993. Man, the rapid development of oligarchy seems to be quite slow. I mean, we're talking 33 years. And you keep saying it over and over and over to the legion of doom that you speak to.
Is increasingly becoming an oligarchy. More and more moving toward an oligarchy. We are moving in the direction of oligarchy. We will move even more rapidly in the direction of an oligarchy. This great country is evolving into an oligarchic society. It is called oligarchy, and that is the system we are rapidly moving toward. This is a budget that moves our country rapidly into the direction of oligarchy. A handful of billionaires are moving this entire planet toward an oligarchic society.
Start off with the bad news, which is pretty bad, and that is that under Donald Trump, this country is hurtling rapidly toward oligarchy.
1993 was the first time he said that, or that's the first time that it was recorded. We're quickly going into oligarchy, which, okay, I guess wasn't anything quick about it. But the question I would have if I was sitting with Bernie, do me a favor, write down, just really on the back of a napkin, just on a napkin here. What was your net worth in 1993? Simple question. Write down how much money you had in 1993. Okay, you wrote it. Now list all of the jobs you've had since 1993. That's going to be a very short list because there's none. So tell me, Bernie, if we've been hurtling towards the oligarchy, how could somebody without a job have what you have in that net worth today? Because your 1993 net worth is not the same net worth that you have in 2026, yet you have no job that could have catapulted you to this. Exactly. How did you fight the oligarchy and turn yourself into a multimillionaire with multiple houses? More importantly, why haven't you shown these idiots that you talk to how you did it? Well, I wrote a book. I'm a politician. I wrote a book. Okay. Can other people write? Can other people sell books? It's hard to look at where the Democrats come from when you realize where they've come from. 1993, you're telling people it's all over. It's all over. Yet your income, your net worth has skyrocketed. Wow, this country must be really bad at sucking. It must be really bad at turning into an oligarchy if you have been able in 30 years to acquire millions. Not supposed to know that. Not supposed to see it.
Those who are benefiting off of the system we have now, they know what the light at the end of their tunnel looks like. It looks like none of us owning anything.
Hold on. Those of us who have benefited from the system can look at the system and say it ends up with none of us owning anything. And the people in the audience, I got to rewind it, because the people in the audience were sitting there, what do you mean? I bet you everybody in there has something. If they don't have a house, they've got a truck. What do you mean? You're telling people who have things you can't get anything. Mm-hmm.
Looks like everything becoming a subscription service, having no right to fix anything that's yours. It looks like a world in which we all have nothing and they sit in paradise behind walls of concrete and guns.
Seriously? We don't have anything and we sit behind walls of concrete and guns. All right, so where I'm sitting, I'd have to say I'm one of those people. I'm broadcasting right now from a gated community in Boca Raton with a giant 8-foot concrete wall. And yes, we got some guns up in here. But guess what? There's a whole lot of other people in this development who have the exact same thing. They are living behind a gated community with a giant concrete wall. I'm sure they got some weapons and they got kids. They got all. What are you talking about? I'm not oligarchic. The next door neighbor's not oligarchic. What kind of an insane nut do you have to be to listen to this stuff?
That's their future, and we cannot let them have it. Because we have an opportunity now. We are at a crossroads in American history. On one path, we are looking down the dark road of fascism. We're already there.
Anybody want to tell him? Anybody just want to just talk to this guy right here? We're looking at fascism. Meanwhile, the Nazis talking to you. None of you guys can pick up on that. They're the fascists. Not me. And I'm thinking, what kind of lives do these people live that listen to this crap and sit there and say, we get to vote for the Nazi who's no longer the Nazi, but because we're worried about other Nazis?
Masked agents kidnapping people, murdering Americans in the streets. A federal government that is now turning back on illegal wiretapping without warrants. That is using things like terrorism and military adventures abroad.
If a guy showed up looking like that, would you vote for him? Bro, you need a shave. Put on a tie. Look presentable. It doesn't even look like you know what you're talking. We can hear you and realize you don't know what you're talking about, but at least try to fool us by the way that you dress. Nope. No, okay. So you're expecting these people to think you're the next coming of John Fetterman.
To be weaponized here at home against political enemies. That is happening. We keep going down that path. It is a bleak future indeed. But there is another path that we must take. We must understand that we have to rise to our moment in history. Nobody wants to live in interesting times.
I don't even know what that means. Nobody wants to live in interesting times. You all want to be bored? I mean, what do you mean? I don't understand. Nobody wants to live in interesting times. Again, I feel like it's John Belushi in Animal House. Hey, yeah, he's rolling. He's on a roll. The Germans bombing Pearl Harbor. We don't want to live in interesting times. Whew.
But we do. And much like the Americans that came before us, we have to understand that it is not going to be enough to just protect what we had. We need to build something new.
Notice when they say that, they never say what new is. So if you're talking to people and you're telling them they need to, rise up against the oligarchs and, you're not going to own anything, you're talking about your own party. Your party's not building anything. Your party is completely against building something. Your party is for taking. And so, excuse me, what are we supposed to build if, we don't have any money? They don't tell people this stuff. They lie to them.
Top Democrats backing Maine Senate candidate Graham Plattner now ducking questions about some of his unearthed internet posts in which he mocks American war heroes. That includes a Purple Heart recipient who he says didn't, quote, deserve to live after being shot 4 times by the Taliban.
I was wondering if you regret the post about the Purple Heart veteran, if you think you need to apologize to him, what you would say to voters who might be upset by it?
I did 4 tours of the infantry. Any attempt to say that I disrespect veterans is slanderous and offensive.
But it's your words. Any attempt to say that I said this is slanderous, except for the fact that I said it. We have the actual quote. We have you actually saying it, but me telling you that your own words is actually, slanderous. Guess what? Take me to court. You'll never win. I got here's right here. You said that MFer deserved to die. So you tell me how any veteran, anywhere, and we just celebrated a Memorial Day, is looking at this idiot and saying, yeah, that's the guy I think should be leading Maine. The only reason, and by the way, the only reason why we're even talking about him is that Susan Collins is abhorrent. Maine didn't allow, again, John Thune, you didn't tell Susan Collins, you know what, maybe you might want to retire and let someone else take the helm right now. So now we're going to have to spend another $100 million in Maine to drag her old behind across the line so that she can then go ahead and attack Trump. Excuse me. Because she's not a guaranteed vote for anything. And so we're going to have to spend $100 million to beat the Nazi.
An apology?
Do you know how many of my friends have Purple Hearts? Do you know how many of my friends got wounded?
I'm sure a lot.
Yeah.
That's the old, how many of my friends are black? I have a lot of black friends. I can't be a racist. That's pretty much what he just said. You know how many my friends are Purple Hearts? No, I have no idea. I would ask them, well, how many of your friends that are Purple Hearts know what you said? Because those people that who are your friends are Purple Hearts, are they okay with you denigrating another soldier and saying he doesn't deserve to live? You're bringing him up. I didn't bring him up. These people don't even think on their feet to ask these questions.
Mr. Leader, is Graham Plattner a liability for Democrats after those lewd Reddit posts were exposed?
I haven't seen those posts.
You're going to like this part. All right. So people started asking these leading Democrats, hey, what do you think about this guy who's a Nazi? Because from what we understood the last 10 years, Nazi's bad. Nazi's kind of bad. It's Trump Nazi, fascist. But now you're actually, embracing a Nazi. And what do you think about it? I don't know nothing about it.
Senator, is Graham Plattner a liability right now for Democrats after those Reddit posts, the lewd posts that just were revealed? Senator, do you rescind your endorsement of Graham Plattner after those lewd posts on Reddit?
Yeah.
You see, one of the things you have to realize now, after you see these, it was funny, when I was in Washington, I was sitting next to the lady from Lindell TV, and she always chases these people into tunnels. And you realize they're stupid as I almost said a bad word. They are stupid. Unless somebody gives them a script, they don't have anything to say. Chuck Schumer was walking in there. He didn't seem like he knew what the hell was going on. They don't know until they're told.
Are you reconsidering endorsing Plattner after those lewd Reddit posts that came out?
Senator, what about Talarico, sir? What about the president endorsing Paxton over Cornyn? Do you think that changes the dynamic of Texas?
Republicans in Texas are in a shambles. What are in Texas?
Plattner, there's some lewd.
Texas is shambles. Obviously, this was filmed a few days ago, but Chucky had nothing to say. Now here comes Stolen Valor Blumenthal.
Post that he made on social media.
I'm not following it. Sorry.
I haven't seen those, but going around and doing hearing.
Well, the people of Maine get to choose who they want to represent them in the U.S. Senate. And so I encourage you to interview the people of Maine, because that's what a democracy is all about. I'm not going to take any position in that election. That's my practice since I've been in the Senate.
Democrats, Graham Plattner, who's running for Senate in Maine, has made some wild...
I'm not going to get into that.
I'm not going to get into that. So you're asking sitting senators, hey, what about this Nazi up in Maine? I haven't seen it. What do you mean you haven't seen it? You got a whole staff. Nobody's brought this to your attention. I'm not tracking it. I don't know. They're in trouble. They know, because it would have been very easy for each one of them to have said, yeah, I support him. I'm right behind him. So they're taking the complete, I don't know nothing about it. They'll see no evil, hear no evil. I don't know nothing.
Hey, Senator, can you talk to us about Graham Plattner's posts? Do you find them offensive, the social media posts that came out?
I'm not getting involved in that race. I'm actually focused on the Midwest.
I have not seen his posts, so I'm not going to be able to be in a position to evaluate them. He's explained his journey and his evolution and his PTSD, from the war.
Hold on. I will never make fun of anybody who has PTSD. However, if you're telling me that this guy has PTSD, then why the hell is he running for senator of a state of the United States? Why would people in Maine go, you know what, this guy's he's got some issues, he's shell-shocked, he's got some PTSD, let's make him a senator. That might have been the most ludicrous denial approval I've ever heard. He's got some PTSD. Well, do the people of Maine know that? I'm just saying.
Again, I think it's a judgment should be rendered by the people of Maine.
Absolutely crazy. So, as you were just listening to that, it must make you feel like, what the heck is going on? And then at the same time, just so you know, at the same time as you're watching that, you understand this guy is an actual Nazi. But now the Democrats are going to have a problem, and I'm going to use a crystal ball here and predict that they're going to have a problem, because you can't call Trump one. You can't call us MAGA one. You can't say that they have taken one of their big statements off the table. Just imagine it. Pretty soon racism will come off the table, but in any event, Nazis have to come off the table, because now they're okay, depending on who you are. I showed this to you yesterday.
Want these guys to wear them. So that's been going on. They like to face off. But this is the deal. These ICE agents are doing their job according to DHS, and these protesters want this facility closed. They say that there are poor conditions inside of the facility, including poor food. They say people are getting sick in there and they don't have medical care. But DHS says that's just not the case. And so people are getting into these explosive arguments between these ICE agents and trying to go back and forth on it. So, as you know, Will, from being in Minneapolis and me doing some live shots with you, I'm not the most popular reporter, right, at these ICE protests. So just prepare yourself to see some of that. But this is the deal. ICE says they're going to do everything they can to keep this facility open, and we're going to keep a close eye on exactly what happens with that. And so the other situation is there's people like this. You are a protesters been out here and you have a dirty mouth, but okay.
Oh, you have a dirty mouth. Oh my gosh. They treat these people like kids. You have a dirty mouth. But, you know, as I showed you yesterday, she's about to use something. She's about to use a word against her. This young white woman is now going to be reduced to being on the same level as the guy up in Maine.
So that's just what we deal with. So just for people that want to know what it's like to cover these protests, it's constant with this. This is what these people do. They want people who are in this country illegally to be released out onto the streets. DHS says that's what they're going to not be doing. So we'll see.
Bitch, Nazi bitch, that's what you are.
That is an eloquent argument.
Ooh, that is an eloquent argument. Because now they've got nothing. How are you going to call this person a Nazi when the other one in Maine is an actual Nazi? Oh, everyone's a Nazi. You need to find your own Nazi. I can't. I don't understand how these people get up in the morning and how you have a foul mouth, a dirty mouth, and they're going to win.